Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United podcast, Wan-Bissaka special. I'm your host, TC, and here's my co-host, Scott. Hello, mate.
Hello, buddy.
It looks like we have our right back. An announcement is ready for tomorrow. I'm really happy about this, mate. Cracking signing, just what we need. Let's get this summer started.
Absolutely, mate. Looks like we got a really good young player for the next 10 plus years, hopefully.
Yes, mate. Well, originally, it looks like we've got 21-year-old. It looks like a 5-year contract with a 1-year extra option. Some people are saying we're offering him a 6-year contract, but the usual United thing these days is a 5-year with one extra. Mm-hmm. It seems like 50 million, 45 million plus 5 add-ons, which is less than Palace were after. I'm very happy about this, mate. Really, really happy. Look, he's 6 foot tall. He loves a tackle. Our defence needs to start defending. And this is a great start, pal.
Absolutely. And I think we just need a bit of consistency at the back, being able to pick a back four week after week. And I really think he fits the bill. He's got a lot of really good attributes, some which are really going to improve our team. And I really hope we crack on from here, mate.
Yes, and let's look at this in a positive way. Look, people have been having a go at the powers that be, but we've got our first choice right back here. That's our top choice. We've got him before pre-season. We've got him for less than Crystal Palace wanted. And we've kept the 25% Zaha sell-on clause because Crystal Palace were trying to get us to remove that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a massive amount of cash coming our way. Obviously, we're hearing rumours that Arsenal are trying to snatch Wilfried Zaha. So, all in all, mate...
Well, it's hardly snatch him when they're trying to pay 80 million quid for him, right? And that's 20 million
20
pounds.
of that now. Yes. So I'm saying this is good business, mate. Really good business, I think.
I definitely agree. I just think that the frustrations maybe are bred from the fact that we seem like we can only do one deal at a time.
Yes.
You see other teams, they're doing multiple deals at the same time. It looks like we're at a snail's pace all the time. But if you look at our rivals, City haven't made a signing. Liverpool, they just made a small signing today. Arsenal haven't signed anyone. Chelsea obviously can't. I think we're actually pretty good.
Yeah, mate. And can I just say, look, you're saying we're going at snail's pace and it looks like other people are doing business. But look, we've got Daniel James in now. Mm-hmm. We needed a winger, didn't we?
Yeah.
We've got a right back in, ready to put pen to paper, which is exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
Both in before pre-season. I know the other teams aren't making loads of signings. Of course, they don't need to make as many signings as us. But we've got to remember the papers love to slag us off these days. They love to stick the knife in and say that everyone's not doing a good job at United. So, look, I think this is good. We got the Players' Player and Fans' Player of the Year of Crystal Palace. He was the third highest in the Premier League for tackles made last season, 129 tackles. And he was the second in the Premier League for interceptions with 84. Kapui topped that with 86, so 2 less interceptions.
Yeah, but he was the top amongst all fullbacks, right? He made the most tackles and the most interceptions.
Yeah. 100% he was. Of course he was. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. He's over 6 foot tall. And look, the first things first is we need to start defending properly again. And if we've got a right back who really can defend, that's going to seep across to the centre back playing alongside him, give them more confidence that they haven't got someone who can just be floated past. Because look, in the last few years, it has become a habit of our fullbacks to let people just dance past them as if they're not there. And Wan-Bissaka does not let that happen.
It's unfair. We've been playing with right wingers as our right backs for the past few years.
I know.
And it's unfair to really judge him as defenders. You see all these comparison stats saying, how many tackles and how many interceptions, blah, 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 that Ashley Young had last season compared to how many Wan-Bissaka had. And Ashley Young's not a defender. So I always find those comparisons pretty unfair on Ashley Young and Antonio Valencia beforehand.
Yes, look, I'm not comparing him to Ashley Young and Antonio Valencia. I'm comparing him to every single right back in the league with these stats. And he still comes out on top. Mm-hmm. So that's what I like about him. He is a proper right back. He seems to like to show a wing as the outside and use his pace to just pounce. So if someone does a sort of loose touch, he's in there and he does love to go to ground and put a hit in, which I know full well the Old Trafford crowd absolutely loves.
Absolutely. He is rapidly quick. It's pretty impressive how quick he is and his acceleration especially. And to be honest, his vision playing out of defence, he doesn't just aimlessly clear the ball upfield. He does pick some really good passes out and manage to link up well with the right winger, which let's hope him and Daniel James are going to be tearing that right wing up for years to come.
Yeah, he does like to slide the ball out to the winger. He looks like quite proficient at it too.
It's purposeful, isn't it?
He does like a low-driven cross.
Yeah.
And actually, mate, he had 61 take-ons last season. From my point of view, his attacking is vastly underrated. He started as a winger. He's a wing by trade. He's got bags of pace. Mm-hmm. He's playing in a Palace side who are not converting a lot of the chances he provides. I've seen a lot of actually gorgeous crosses that he's popped in,
Yeah.
and they've hit the post or whizzed wide.
And some of them have been horrendous finishing.
Absolutely
I felt
awful.
sorry for him.
Absolutely awful. So, mate, I believe that attacking side of his game is there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of been disguised in Palace. What I will say, just on his defensive side of his game, one thing I like about him, a lot of players that go to ground, they like to use their sort of preferred foot to tackle. And they can sometimes get in trouble and sort of get themselves in a bit of a tangle. Even Nemanja Vidic in the past, I've seen him tackle with his right foot before, when really a left-footed tackle would have been better.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Vidic tackled with his left too, but once in a while, Wan-Bissaka tackles with both feet. He seems so nimble that he's showing you the outside, but if you cut in the other side, he's quite proficient using his left foot to tackle too. And, he'll dribble with his left foot too sometimes, which is a good sign to me. It's a good sign, his athleticism, and he's a proper defensive fullback, but he is a converted winger, so we might see a different player at United than we did at Palace.
That's an excellent point, TC. A really, really good point, that an ambidextrous forward, he just looks so nimble either side, right? But an ambidextrous defender as well, you just don't know which way to turn him. And it's a really, really good point that, these both-footed defenders, they very rarely get the praise that they deserve.
Yeah. And actually, he actually ended up in defence because they asked him at Palace to mark Wilfried Zaha for a training session about a year and a half ago, and obviously excelled. Zaha couldn't believe it. And that's how he became a defender. Zaha actually said he's so good at defending. You may go past him, but he always manages to get a last-ditch tackle in. Mm-hmm. He said it's unbelievable how he's transformed himself from a winger to a defender. You can't believe how good he is at defending, considering he was a winger just under 2 years ago.
I didn't know that. That's a really good story.
Yeah, and then actually Zaha also said that he's a cracking guy. He said he hardly says anything in the dressing room. He basically does his talking on the pitch, plays well, and goes home, and everyone loves him. And to me, again, that is a massive plus because we need to start getting some decent characters in that dressing room to complement the other decent characters in there, but to get rid of the ones that are not performing in terms of the dressing room at United.
For sure. It's always kind of risky signing such a young player for such a big price tag. But when you hear that he's as humble as he's been made out to be, then the risks are sort of lessened a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And he has performed really, really well against, Eden Hazard's, Yasane's at City. He also skinned Anthony Martial, didn't he, at Old Trafford, and played very well at Old Trafford too.
Yeah.
So in terms of the worry for when you come from a smaller club to a bigger club is, can you perform in the big games? Historically, obviously we haven't got a massive body of work to look at because he's only been a right back for so long. But that is a positive sign as well, mate, for me.
It definitely is. I actually remember last season when Crystal Palace went to Man City, they were 3-1 up, and the last half hour they were just getting absolutely battered. And he was really, really sturdy in defence and definitely caught my eye.
Yeah. I mean, one weakness I would say, a potential weakness or room for improvement, considering he is over 6 foot, I would say his aerial ability can improve quite a lot. That's one thing that I've noticed that sometimes is a bit faulty. I'm not digging him out for that. It's just an observation. And it's something that I hope improves. But he has got the height for it. So it's not like we've got a little small fullback who's dodgy in the air.
Yeah,
we've got someone who we can work on there.
For sure. And he's still so young. He's definitely got a lot of time to improve that,
He does. And I know you said that maybe Diogo Dalot will be pushed up the field. But to me, this signing strengthens our left back options as well. Because obviously Diogo Dalot can play over on the left as well.
Yeah, pretty good over there too.
And I kind of wouldn't mind seeing a sort of modern day Dennis Irwin, if you like, in Dalot. I see a little bit of Irwin in Dalot, actually. And if Dalot can play on the right, play on the left, obviously got Luke Shaw on the left as well, suddenly the fullback stable is looking a little bit more positive.
Yeah, a few months ago I compared him to Rafael da Silva. Maybe he'll turn out to be a bit more like Fabio.
Yes, exactly. Maybe. And actually Wayne Rooney had some nice words as well. Banged in an absolute belter, didn't he? From his own half again. Unbelievable. Good to see him enjoying his football. He said he had a message for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Enjoy it, play with no fear. United is a fantastic club, one of, if not the best club in the world. You have to embrace it and do your best. He said, absorb the culture and you'll do all right. So that was nice from Wayne Rooney as well. It seems like after going back to Everton, he's realised what the grass wasn't so green on the other side after all.
No, it's always nice to hear an old Red and such an important Red in our history still talk about us with a lot of heart,
Yeah, really nice words from Rooney there. And look, mate, Ollie has brought in Daniel James, bags of pace, British. Wan-Bissaka, bags of pace, British as well. So it's the second young British players come in.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously looking at some other young British players too. Jadon Sancho's gone cold. Looks like Harry Maguire. Looks like Leicester are asking too much. But there is a pattern there, isn't there? That Ollie is looking to fill that team. And you know what? When I do look, I don't mind what nationality the players play for United. I just want them to have the best interests of the club at heart. But we've always had a good core of players. You know, the England team's always had a few United players in, and dotted around the other home nations too. And I do think, in terms of keeping the spirit and the culture of the club, I do think it's necessary to have people who really understand the club from within Britain.
For sure, I think that it's something that's pretty hard to teach, like the history of Manchester United and the magnitude of the club.
Yeah.
But for a British player and a player who was brought up in England and in Britain, it's something you don't even have to teach,
Yes, although if you're Pat Evra, you sit there under your cover.
Yeah.
He said he was freezing himself to death, and he just sat there and watched all about the history of the Busby Babe, the history of the club. And it showed on the field, didn't it, with Pat?
Yeah, there definitely are some exceptions. Ji-Sung Park was a fantastic red, and Juan Mata at the moment is a fantastic red, and just has the love for the club that you definitely can't teach.
Exactly, mate. And Ever and Ji-Sung Park would have been watching it together, probably.
Under the same covers.
Speaking Korean, unbelievable. Absolutely love it. So, mate, look, I'm over the moon with this. Look, let's not mess around here. We were looking for a right back. Everybody said, our right back options are an absolute disaster. And we've gone out there, we've done the business. We've got the best up-and-coming right back in the league.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it, mate. Really happy with it.
Yes, man. Hopefully this is the start of many more to come, right?
For sure, let's hope one deal at a time. Ed can pull out another one this week.
Yeah, and then, the rumours are growing again with Bruno Fernandes. Ojogo, the Portuguese outlet, said that the agent, Miguel Pinho, had flew to London. He's spoken to United and to Tottenham about Bruno Fernandes, and it looks like he will be on the move and very soon. So I'm hearing that we're looking to, if Pogba is going to go, that we're looking to get Bruno Fernandes in and Sean Longstaff in from Newcastle. Now, of course, the chances of bringing Longstaff in have increased massively because Rafael Benitez was adamant that he should stay. But obviously Newcastle have got rid of the Spanish waiter, and it looks like Longstaff will be available. And again, looking through the thread of Ollie's targets, I think there might be some meat in that one.
Definitely correlates to this young British core that we're trying to bring in.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And Youri Tielemans, obviously at Monaco, was on loan at Leicester. Now, this is Leicester's top target. And, they've had a dialogue with him. They've had him at the club last season. If he really wanted to go to Leicester, it would have happened by now. I believe that...
It would have happened a while ago, right?
Yeah, I believe that Tielemans waiting to see if a bigger club does come in. And I think, obviously, the main bigger club that may come in is Manchester United. I wouldn't say, look, we can't replace Pogba with three attacking players. We have to build a new midfield. But Tielemans, to me, he's another good option. He might not be English or British, but that doesn't matter. He's young, up and coming, and he is Premier League experienced.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually consider him to be such an attacking option. I think he's more of in the Herrera role, can do some defending, can do a bit of attacking as well, but definitely not a player earmarked for number 10 like Bruno,
Yeah, because the Mirror are reporting that Pogba went to a party.
Shocker.
With his old Juventus mates and told them that he wants to come back to Juve, to Turin. Of course, I don't know how the Mirror got that story. What do you make of that, bud?
I mean, it's just more of the same, mate. Wow, now he's just told us. He told the whole world last week that he wanted to leave, and now he's gone and told someone at Andrea Barzagli's party. What's the difference?
Yeah, what is the difference, bud? Absolutely.
Who cares, mate? Let's just make a decision and get on with it, because all of this he say, she say rubbish is just so distracting.
You're right, mate. We do need to make a decision on Pogba. We do it. We get him out of the club, or we decide to keep him and we build around him. It's got to be one or the other. We can't let Pogba dominate this summer.
Absolutely not. One
player that doesn't look like he's on his way, mate, is Tanguy Ndombele, the Lyon midfielder. It looks like he visited the Spurs training ground. Di Marzio's saying that Spurs are going to snag him for £65 million. That was one you were after, mate. You were quite fond of him, weren't you?
Well, on paper, maybe I was. And then I watched a few videos on him and read a few things. And it's, to be honest, the same sort of player as Tanguy Bakayoko, the guy who came from Monaco, went to Chelsea a few years ago. Yeah. And I was bang on for that as well, if I'm honest. I thought he would be a really good foil for Pogba. But he just couldn't really hack the Premier League. He's a player that if he goes to Spurs, 65 million for a 22-year-old, he'll be given all the time in the world to be able to go and improve and go and show what he can do. But if he comes to us for that price tag, it'd be necessary for him to have an immediate impact. And I don't know if he'll be able to put up with that pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's not going to break my heart at all. That's fine. There's plenty of midfielders of that kind of ilk around. So, yeah.
And I'll be honest, I mean, I think one of their best players last year was Sissoko, and it looks like he's going there to replace him.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're very, very similar players.
Yeah, I think so, mate. So no tears to shed over that one. Looks like it's going to get done, and we'll move on to other targets.
Yeah, I'd be actually really surprised if there was any truth to the fact that we were sniffing around him. I think it's just one of those journalist ploys just to add our name in the mix and get a few more reads.
Or an agent's ploy to get a bit more cash in the contract.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another rumour that's popped up, mate. Mundo Deportivo over in Spain has said that Samuel Umtiti is a potential United target. Barcelona, they don't really know what they're doing at the moment, I don't think. But Samuel Umtiti, he's had quite a few knee problems over at Barca. And if they were to get rid of him, it would be because of that reason. Now, that worries me a little bit because we've got centre-backs already and we've got Eric Bailly, who plays well and then gets injured and he's out for a while. We don't want to be picking someone up with injury problems. If we can go out and spend the money on someone to be our marquee centre-back, we can't be having him coming over with a dodgy knee.
No, I completely agree. It is quite a sensible signing, though. You know, it's not one of those just world-class players that are thrown around. It's a player who has maybe been a bit surplus to requirements over there.
Yeah.
But, you know, to me, it's still surprising that there's been no news whatsoever about Alderweireld.
Yes, me too.
Given his contract's up in a few days. And I actually think that we're got more chance of that happening than Umtiti.
I would love a double bubble. I'd love Alderweireld and one more. But you know, I want everything, don't I? Another one on our radar, Kalidou Koulibaly. Ancelotti has said that if Napoli sell him, he won't return from holiday. Napoli have signed Kostas Manolas, and when Koulibaly was asked at the African Cup of Nations, what he would do next season, he said, I don't know my future. So Napoli are very firm on what they want to do. We want to keep you. And he's saying, I'm not sure. So there might be some movement still in that one. He's got a release clause, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, mate. I think it's he maybe falls into the category of a player that we wouldn't be able to sign without Champions League football. But I'd love to be wrong on it.
Yeah, maybe. Harry Maguire, it looks like Leicester aren't budging on this one. It looks like they have no desire to sell. And it looks like people are saying it's a straight fight between United and City for Harry Maguire. But at the moment, it looks like Leicester's price is just too much, just like it was last summer.
Yeah, the longer we get into this window, the more I don't think this is going to happen, pal. I really don't.
With the Harry Maguire transfer?
Yeah, I don't see Ed Woodward paying 80, 90 million pound plus for him, and I don't see them budging in their valuation.
The thing is, mate, is once we get up to those levels, we're getting close to Koulibaly's release clause anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So I personally would prefer to push the button on that. So maybe that's the problem. Maybe we're getting pushed up and you go, okay, well, if we're going to spend all that money on Maguire, why not go to the previous option that was higher up the list in Koulibaly?
Yeah. You know, what was it, 2002 when we bought Rio for 30 million?
Yeah.
And back then, 30 million for a defender was astronomical, right? And there were questions whether he'd be able to deal with the pressure of it.
Yeah.
But Rio Ferdinand was absolutely world class and one of the best defenders of his generation.
Sensational.
I just don't see it being the same for Maguire, mate.
No, I don't either. But could you see it being the same for maybe Koulibaly?
Possibly. I'm not necessarily a yes or no. I just worry that he's got no Premiership experience. If anything, the couple of games he played against Liverpool in the Champions League this year, he didn't look very good, especially the one at Anfield. And I just worry he wouldn't be able to deal with the pace of it and also deal with the pressure of being a £100 million defender.
Yeah, that's a fair point, mate. It's a tricky one. There's no real centre-back that jumps out as the perfect option.
Yeah.
Even Matthias de Ligt. Obviously, he's fantastic. He's 19 years old. You never know. He's a young man. Things can change in a person's life. So that's the worry, obviously, with de Ligt. And you look through all the options. Well, the ones we mentioned today: Umtiti, knee problems; Harry Maguire, too expensive; Koulibaly, too expensive and no Premier League experience; Alderweireld, obviously getting on and does have injury problems too. So there's no one like a Rio where you can say, look, he's captain of Leeds. He's just gone to the semi-final of the Champions League. Mm-hmm. He's tearing it up. And he's been earmarked as a superstar since he was 15 years old.
Yeah.
That was Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah.
That's why we went out and spent 30 million on him, because although I know some United fans didn't like the yellow hair and they didn't like his dress sense when he first...
His white suit.
When he first arrived. To be fair, looking back, Rio thinks it's a bit of a dodgy suit too, but he won us over with his performances. He won us over with his love for the club.
Yeah.
And he changed as a person as well. He changed from a guy who was a bit wishy-washy in terms of he'd take risks that didn't need to be taken. And he grew and matured and he became captain of the club and lifted the European Cup in Moscow. So
for sure. No, he had the footballing ability and the mental ability to be able to put up with the world record transfer fee. And I just don't see Maguire being in that ilk of player. I don't think in 20 years' time we're going to look back and think he was of the same mould of a player that Rio Ferdinand was.
No, I can't see that happening. And also, Maguire is joining a club that is not as easy to flourish in as Rio was.
Mm-hmm.
So Rio came to United when, don't get me wrong, we had our barren years and whatever. But Rio was joining a club where he was coming in and adding to an already really, really good team. Whereas Maguire would be coming in to basically save us.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he's the man for the job.
Yeah, I agree.
He may be, though. You never know. You never know how someone will react to something. Like I said before, Ronaldo came to us when he was 18, and don't worry, I'm not comparing him to Ronaldo, but people do move when they're young and it just works. So, Maguire coming over, you just never know.
But, you mentioned Matthias de Ligt a minute ago that he's going to go to Juventus for what? I think it's 75 million. And you're talking about, nailed on best defender of this generation. And for a player to go for 25% more than that, I just don't see it, mate. It's just the English premium, and especially the Manchester United premium on top of that.
I totally agree, mate. I totally agree. And of course, we are sniffing around Tielemans. He's not at Leicester, but Leicester want him. We're also sniffing around James Maddison as well. So it seems like a sort of a bit of an intricate thing going on there. It's not as simple as just going in with your money and saying, we want him. There may be other things at play there where they're saying, well, if you leave him alone, and then you can have him or vice versa.
And it's just this day and age that these mid-table teams don't have to sell any of their players. Not like 10, 15, 20 years ago where you put in a bid of X amount and they just had to accept it no matter what. It's very different these days. You see Crystal Palace fighting and just managing to get rid of a player for 50 or a fullback, 21-year-old fullback for £50 million. It just, it's a different day and age these days, mate.
It's a really good point, pal. Really, really good point. You're right. Back in the day, we could basically bully people into giving us their players. Mm-hmm. There was so much money. We were so much more powerful than the smaller clubs in the league that we could almost always get our man. However, now, of course, the money that's poured into the Premier League, it means that they don't need to. And it does make it that much harder. But at the same time, prices do go up throughout the years, don't they? So, look, I'd always rather spend a bit more on more quality than get a bargain on someone who's not quite up to it.
Yeah, but I don't see, you look at Virgil van Dijk, £75 million, but he is, without question at the moment, the best central defender in the world. And I don't see how 2 years later, someone who isn't quite of that ability can go for even more money than that. It just doesn't really make sense, mate.
Yeah, it seems even more bananas than it used to seem, mate, really, to be honest with you. But we will see with that. As we say, look, we've got our right back in. We've got a winger in. It is a great start. It really is. And if Bruno Fernandes, if we could get him over the line, then we really could start to get excited. Yeah,
I was reading that he actually prefers United over Tottenham because he feels like he'd be able to come in and really have a big difference to our squad, maybe guaranteed a starting berth immediately, which is, I think it's a pretty positive thing to read. I would obviously love him to come out and say, I'd prefer to go to United because of the history and blah, blah, blah. But if anything, he's not shying away from a challenge. And I think, as I say, he might really come in and turn our fortunes around, mate.
Let's not mess around, mate. Everybody prefers United to Tottenham. If you're a player, you've got a choice between United and Tottenham. Forget the Champions League. It's a different blooming league. Mm-hmm. The truth is that Bruno Fernandes walks into both teams. Mm-hmm. He walks into the Tottenham team. He walks into the United team. Don't forget Christian Eriksen's leaving Tottenham. Mm-hmm. United, come on. Well, let's not compare ourselves to Tottenham, mate.
I'm not. I'm just regurgitating what I read.
I know, pal, but, let's not forget who we are. We're Manchester United. We're the greatest club in the world. And Tottenham, yeah, sure, they got to the Champions League final, but that's pretty much their best day ever, isn't it? That's going to be their greatest day in their history. And we're on a different level, pal.
Yeah, it was actually interesting reading what Gary Neville said last week as well, that, if a player's not willing to come to United because we don't have Champions League football for a year or two, then we don't want that player at all.
Absolutely spot on, buddy. My thoughts exactly. I saw that and I thought, absolutely, Gary. And the same with everything. If they've got a reason that, like Pogba, he wants to go and find a new challenge because he can't hack the challenge now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we shouldn't be keeping this kind of player around the club.
Mm-hmm.
And if a player doesn't want to come and take up the challenge, if they don't feel... When people say, I want to move to win trophies, that's fine.
Yeah.
I want people to move to actually play and then themselves put in the performances to win the trophies. I don't want people just coming because they want to pick up a medal to show their mates.
Mm-hmm.
I want someone to come and perform and earn that trophy.
Yeah, completely agree with you.
So the quarterfinals of the Women's World Cup just finished. A couple of our girls, Alex Greenwood and Abby McManus in the England side, they didn't start tonight. But England have progressed 3-0 winners into the semi-finals. Unbelievable, mate.
Yeah, I was really glad to see it. Obviously, the results of last Sunday have made Phil Neville go a bit grey. He certainly looked like the one who would never age, but they were talking today about his snazzy new haircut, and it looks like he's got a big, thick patch of grey in his hair from last week.
He does, yeah. But look, Phil Neville, great servant to the club and a massive United fan as well. And it's great to see him doing so well as well.
Absolutely. What a servant he was. And funnily enough, he was actually in Alex Ferguson's best team ever, right? When Fergie was given the chance to pick his best team ever, he picked him over Gary.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
What red wine was he on that night?
Probably the old Los Diablos, right? Whatever it is.
You know what, mate? My favourite Phil Neville moment it will always be when he floated that ball into the King at St James's Park. And Eric volleyed us to a 1-0 victory over Newcastle and sent Kevin Keegan to the loony bin.
That's funny you say that, because he actually delivered another fantastic ball against Newcastle a couple seasons before when we won 2-0 at home and Roy Keane scored this fantastic goal.
I remember.
And he floated this beautiful 40-yard in. Yeah, he had a couple of really good moments. I always love the story that they used to call him Jigsaw because he used to fall apart in front of goal.
Was that game, the game Keano scored, was that the game when the Old Trafford pitch was like a bog?
Oh, it was awful.
And Andy Cole scored with like a 20-yard side footer.
From like a 50-yard slotted through ball from Giggsy. It was indeed.
That was one of my favourite Coley goals. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe the power he got in that side foot.
Yeah. And his celebration as well. He went absolutely mad.
Pointing at blooming everyone.
Yeah. What a servant he was. Really good to see he's back to almost full health now, and he's really enjoying himself as an ambassador.
Yeah, big time. It really is, mate. So look, we got our right back in, pal. Really good news. Looks like we're making some moves. Now we can move on to the next one. As you say, it looks like we do one at a time. Hopefully we'll have some more news before the next pod on Monday. Yeah, let's hope so. I really think there might be a bit of Alderweireld news coming out, mate. Yeah, so probably be some news coming through, of course, as the month changes and all the release clauses and all the changes in contracts happen. Yeah. So maybe Alderweireld, and we've also got Griezmann as well. So we'll be back on Monday. Thanks for listening again, Reds. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or your favourite podcast app. Rate and share with your fellow United fans too. We've got our man. He'll be in the United shirt tomorrow. Thanks for joining me again, Scott. Thank you, buddy. Cheerio, Reds. Ta-ra.